It takes a strong man to deny what's in front of it.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am trying something new today. I have always loved to analyze different stories in different forms, like video games, books, movies, and so on. And so I thought this might be a good idea for a series on this YouTube channel. I guess this is going to be my passion project. So, welcome to the first episode of Zivus Reviews. Today we are going to be reviewing one of my favorite hidden gems in the gaming industry, Spec Ops: The Line. Now this is going to contain a lot of spoilers, so I urge you to play this game yourself before watching this because it really is a masterpiece. What starts off as a mindless shooty turns into something much deeper. This is the first shooter game I have played that actually made me feel like a monster for killing people. It tricks you into thinking you're playing a normal shooter and then kicks you into the void of grief and regret. It is one of those games that made me stare blankly at the screen after it ended for a solid 20 minutes, trying to process what the f just happened. The game was influenced by the Heart of Darkness, where it is said that every man is capable of evil deeds, and thus, the game choices go beyond just plain good and evil, but the head writer said it best in this interview.
Looking to kind of, instead of doing the whole, oh, John Wayne, Captain America, you punch the bad guys, you're a hero, hooray kind of a thing, we wanted to make a more personal military shooter, something that was actually about the soldiers that were going into combat. Like what happens when you take men and you put them into an increasingly bad situation until eventually they start to break. And that's really where the heart of Spec Ops was always meant to be, is this more of a personal story of what it means to go through a combat.
In any given war game, you, the player, are the hero that saves everyone. But in this game, well, this game takes a different approach.
Well done, Walker. You've done what the storm could not. Destroyed the damn 33rd. Do you feel like a hero yet?
The story starts with you, the player, in a helicopter fight that causes you to crash. The game then takes you to the start of the story where we find out what led to that helicopter scene. Our main character is Martin Walker, and he has been sent to Dubai with Adams and Lugo. Now this version of Dubai looks a lot different from ours, right? Yeah, that's because a terrible sandstorm has completely destroyed the city and Dubai is now officially a no man's land. Now our three men have been sent there on a reconnaissance mission after they have received a radio transition from Colonel Conrad of the 33rd that the evacuation was a failure. After coming across refugees being rounded up by the 33rd, the team intervenes, but the 33rd soldiers mistake them for CIA operatives and begin a firefight. Walker then elects to disobey orders and find Conrad. And then comes this ungodly part of the game.
Alright, Lugo, what are we up against? An army? Give or take?
No shit.
How are we getting through this? This might help. Fine, set it up. You're fucking kidding, right? That's white phosphorus.
Yeah, I know what it is.
You've seen what this shit does. You know we
might not have a choice, Lugo.
There's always a choice.
No, there's really not.
If you played this game, you know this part very well. Walker uses white phosphorus to take care of the enemies, but in the process murders 47 civilians. This is the breaking point for him, the point of no return. He blames the 33rd for what has happened and vows to find and kill Conrad. The shifting blame becomes a really big part of his character as he struggles to accept the terrible deeds that he has done.
Why?
You brought this on yourself.
We were helping.
What?
Yeah, it is. That's why Gould stormed this place. He didn't want the king. He was trying to rescue his people.
This is your fault, goddammit! Stop right there, Hugo. What it is? He wouldn't listen.
We need to keep moving.
Now, before we talk about the ending, we need to talk about this theory, because the ending actually makes a lot more sense if you know this theory too. It is also important to note that the lead writer, Walt Williams, actually agrees with this theory, so it's not just in my head. I swear I'm not going insane. Remember that helicopter fight in the beginning? Well, what if it wasn't just a flashback as it is first implied? As we move through the story, we again get to the point where the game first begun, but then Walker says this?
Wait! Wait, this isn't right!
Well, it's too late now!
No, I mean, we did this already!
What do you mean?
Ah, fuck it! It's nothing! Just shake these fucking guys!
You got it!
At the first playthrough, I thought they were just trying to break the fourth wall, but the truth is much more sinister. The first time we actually witness their helicopter crashing is the moment when Walker dies. Yup, he dies! The entire game afterwards is Walker trying to come to terms with what he has done in his own little personal hell. This is heavily implied with two things. Firstly, you should pay attention to the fading screens. Sometimes the screen fades to white and sometimes it fades to black. And it is not a coincidence. Every time the scene fades to black, it is a normal transition in the game. But every time it fades to white, it is perceived as a vision or a flashback. After the first helicopter scene, the screen actually fades to white, which drives the point of Walker being dead even more. Now, secondly, there are so many details implying that what is happening is not reality. One of the most important ones being the fact that we can see Conrad's face everywhere as we move through the story. It also has other symbolics like the blossom tree turning into a dead one and imagery that reacts to Walker's emotions, like this family, for example, with their eyes scratched out. But what about after the second helicopter scene? Well, we get a pretty straightforward answer from Conrad himself.
Welcome to Hell, Walker. We've been waiting for you.
Everything from this point forth is extremely violent and traumatic, so it heavily implies the actual hell. What I personally think is that the first part of the game might not have actually been thought of as Walker's hell, but maybe more as a limbo, as he tried to come to terms with what he has done and he has to relive those horrible moments over and over and over and over again. And as he finally starts to realize that he might not be the hero he thought he was, that is where the hell, aka punishment, really begins. So this game actually has 4 endings and we're gonna go through all of them. After Walker finally locates Conrad in his penthouse, Conrad gives him this big speech about the fact that he might not be as good of a person he thinks he is, while painting the dead civilians Walker has previously killed with white phosphorus. But as Conrad disappears, we finally get the truth. Walker actually finds out Conrad has been dead all along and only in his head. So the person he has blamed, so he wouldn't have to take responsibility for his own actions, has been dead all along. We then get this ending scene where Walker sees Conrad pointing the gun at him.
I know the truth is hard to hear, Walker, but it's time. You're all that's left, and we can't live this lie forever. I'm going to count to 5, then I'm pulling the trigger.
You're not real. This is all in my head.
Are you sure? Maybe it's in mine. 1.
No. Everything. All this. It was your fault.
That's what you believe, then shoot me. 2.
I didn't mean to hurt anybody.
No one ever does, Walker. 3. 4.
So here you can either accept responsibility and shoot yourself, let Conrad shoot you, or you shoot Conrad and keep living in denial. So you can get the first ending if you shoot yourself or let Conrad shoot you. That is where the game just ends for the first ending. Your suffering is over since you have finally realized you were the cause of all the death and destruction and you were not the hero after all. The other 3 endings happen if you decide to kill Conrad, or his vision at least. That means you reject the responsibility and stay in denial. After you shoot him, you hear his voice say,
Whatever you say, Walker. No matter what happens next, don't be too hard on yourself. Even now, for all you've done, you can still go home.
which I actually think is meant for the player, not Walker. After all that we have done as the player, we can still just turn off our PC and go home, but Walker will be trapped in this limbo forever, or maybe at least until he stops blaming others for his actions. After that scene, it shows one of the soldiers come to check on you, but the soldier disappears after Walker turns around. We do get an epilogue though, where we get another choice. We see Walker sitting in front of Dubai in Conrad's uniform as the rescue convoy approaches. Here is where Walker can concede or fight the patrol. If you decide to fight and you die, your body is shown in a pool of blood as you hear Conrad's voice say,
I said something about going home, and you said...
Home? We can't go home. There is a line men like us have to cross. If we're lucky, we do what's necessary and then we die. No, all I really want, Captain, is peace.
If you win the fight, Walker picks up the radio to tell the rest of the army,
Gentlemen, welcome to Dubai.
I think that this basically represents him going completely insane. He would rather kill anyone and everyone, including his own people, just so he does not have to come to terms with what he has done. Now here is the interesting ending. If you conceive, you are taken back to the car where one of the soldiers asks you, how did you survive all of this? And we get an answer that now completely cements the idea of Walker already being dead, like we discussed in the previous chapter.
You know, Captain, we drove through this whole city to find you. We saw things. If you don't mind me asking, what was it like? How'd you survive all this?
Who said I did?
In conclusion, this game is a true storytelling masterpiece, and I will fight everyone who disagrees. It is so underrated. It gives you choices you didn't even think you had. Like, did you know that after Lugo's death, when civilians attack you, you can shoot in the air instead of mowing them down like you first thought of? Like, our mind goes straight to murder. I am a fucking monster. It tells a story of a normal man whose mind gets broken by the horrors of war. The game starts as a normal military shooter, but then stops focusing on the plot and instead focuses on the character and the human mind instead. The theory of Walker being dead the whole time actually makes this even a better story and really makes a point of humanity's fragile sanity. Hi guys, thanks for watching the first episode of Zivus Reviews. If you have any suggestions on what I should review next, leave them in the comments below. It can be a book, a movie, a TV show, or a video game with a compelling story. Also, go play Spec Ops: The Line if you haven't yet, because it really deserves all the love I give it. And with that, I am off, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!